I'm Ethan Giffin, founder and CEO of Groove. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I was 8 years old, I started having yard sales. Um, when I was 12, I read The Art of the Deal. When I was 15, I started a DJ service. And even when I worked for, a large international company, uh, I created things and pitched things internally that generated a lot of revenue beside them. And so this was something that was the next evolution of me, and was something that my stepmom says I've kind of trained my whole life for. So thinking about that and how how I evolve that and how I continue to push myself has been something lifelong. It's been ingrained in everything that I think about. We definitely started self-funded. Had some very wise people talk to me in the beginning and say, from a services business standpoint, you should be able to cultivate your own growth, right? You've got to be able to plant your own fields and grow your own crop, so to speak, with that. And that's been our course pretty much along the way. We've had, a couple of projects that we've done. Probably the biggest of which was our world headquarters that we built on Central Avenue. That's a long-term, multi-year endeavor. Of course, we'd want to finance that across the number of years to kind of coincide with our lease plan. And then, generally just kind of traditional stuff that like mid-market, mid-stage companies have, commercial lines of credit based upon receivables and things like that. So we've been very lucky along the way to be in a good position to kind of self-fund and borrow for larger projects and use short-term financing for maybe a large project that we're working on that spans across 12 months. We started the company out of my house, and I started on this journey in the beginning to find where our office would be. We were very constrained in the beginning, and we had just a handful of folks, and everybody wanted to lock us into these long-term deals that I knew we would grow out of. So, but in that same token, I had been looking at spaces on the weekends and at night, a mix through both some commercial brokers as well as through things like Craigslist and just other places to find property. And I'd ride around the city and look for even cool buildings and find out if it was vacant and find out who owned it, and would reach out to folks along the way and say, what are you going to do with this? And many times people would take those calls and they wouldn't know what they're doing with the building, or maybe they were going to sit on it for a while. And so I was riding around one day on Central Avenue and always loved the Fallsway Spring Company building for a couple of different reasons. The big, huge windows that were in the building, the way that it was multi-story, but at the same time had a large first floor footprint. And I just happened to be very lucky that a banner went up on that building one day that said, retail space available, and it had my friend and architect, Urban Design Group's logo on that banner as the person that was designing it from an architectural standpoint. So I called him on his cell phone on a Sunday and said, call me back ASAP, and that started the process of that evolution. The impact the office has created has been amazing. We grew nearly 70% in our first year in space. Some of that was our lack of space to grow in our old space. We couldn't fit any more people in, right? But also the prominence and the notoriety that the space has given us, having events and having people into the space has created opportunities to say, well, what are you doing with your online marketing? And it's allowed us to kind of very much segue into the next part of a conversation with that. In terms of recruitment, it's been wonderful. People come in, they see a very comfortable space where they feel like they can work. Very, very, very big on having multiple levels of kind of seating. So there's times where you come to work in a day and you want to sit at your desk with your headphones on and like your head down and like dig in. There's times where you might feel more comfortable on a big plush chair. There's times you might feel more comfortable at a high top table, or there's times that you might feel comfortable with a bunch of people sitting around like a casual table where you can spread work out and get it done. And we've built that, so we have multiple levels of that within the office. Keeping talent is definitely a challenge that we all face, right? If you look at people aren't taking a job for 30 years anymore and then getting a pension. And that's definitely something that, you have to kind of change the way you operate a little bit. And it's definitely, probably for all of us that have millennial workers, it's definitely the biggest thing that we all face in figuring out how to adapt and grow and reward the people that get the most done and still maintain staff.